What's up guys, Smith here, back again with a new video. And in this video we're gonna take a look at Pepe. This is the first video I'm making after the big crypto crash we had on last Friday. So in this video I want to take a look at what is gonna happen next on Pepe, what we can trade towards to, if we can go look for longs already or we're gonna have to look at short scenarios. We're gonna all go over it in this video, so make sure to watch until the end. And I also want to ask you to join the free Discord community down below. It's for your own benefit, a full free education series in there, and also daily market updates. And for right now, let's get into the analysis on Pepe. Like a lot of coins, it had a massive wick towards the downside and a big correction, but most of the corrections on the crypto coins took out logical liquidity points that were just waiting to be taken out and tapped into demands that were in my chart for months already. So it is not a coincidence. And I also want to add to this, wicks do the damage, the body will tell the story. So knowing this, let's get into the analysis. On my daily time frame, you can already see we have a breaker block in my chart. This comes from this demand. This demand was formed after we started trading above this high, and this demand was also used for this massive expansion towards the upside. So if we're gonna lose this demand, this becomes a breaker block and can be used as resistance to trade lower. I also want to point out this demand is also a demand which I talked about in my last Pepe video in combination with this huge one. These of course are also breaker blocks to watch. I'm not gonna put in the big one, I'm gonna put in this one. Why? It did the same thing as this demand did. It brought you towards a massive expansion, and when you lose it, it can be used as resistance. Of course, it can also be used as support if you're gonna manage to flip the level and trade higher from. While we are on a higher time frame, I also want to point out this structure pool. This is the last place on Pepe where buyers tried to push price up and the sellers took over and the buyers lost against the sellers, and this is gonna become a supply zone. This supply zone in combination with this breaker block are also the first zones to look at when we're trading towards the upside. Then let's see on what we're holding support right now on Pepe, and that is just a lot of lows that we have collected over more than a year on Pepe. As you can see, a lot of lows that cause for expansions towards the upside multiple times. So of course that is gonna be a strong support or resistance zone, but in this case support that we're holding. Then we can already zoom in pretty quickly because of this wick there's not a lot of price data to work with and everything is happening locally in this price action we have right now. Like a lot of other crypto coins, Pepe has already recovered a whole bunch and right now is consolidating, which is logical after a big dump like this. Pepe came up, leaving behind a lot of liquidity on the lows. It tapped it to the breaker block I was talking about, and from there we just started grinding down on Saturday until eventually at Saturday night, this is the last place where buyers tried to push price higher. The sellers really took over, taking out the liquidity pretty quickly that we had on the lows. And then after taking out a whole bunch of liquidity, we started trading higher again. That also means that this is gonna become a supply zone to watch for either shorts to trade towards the downside, because we're also leaving behind a whole bunch of liquidity right now, or if we're strong enough and we can trade higher on Pepe, this can become a long POI zone if we're gonna manage to gain this and trade higher towards, well, maybe this breaker block we have, and after that this bigger supply zone. After we took out all the liquidity from the left, we started trading higher again, creating a demand. If we were bullish and want to create some local upside, we of course are gonna hold this demand and trade higher from it. That is also what happened. If you look, this is the last pullback that brought us towards new lows. We also managed to gain that one. Of course, on your higher time frame, it is going to be all the way over here. But on your lower time frame, in combination with the local trend we have right now, this can already be an indication that we're gonna get bullish on Pepe and look for trades towards the upside. Then I want to zoom in on the 3 minute a bit because we started trading higher from here, leaving behind this demand. This was a nice place for Pepe to look for local trade confirmations to trade higher. What did we do right here? We kept trading down lower. Of course, when you're gonna manage to gain this internal trend towards the upside, you can start buying. But this is not a valid break of structure. No, this is a fake break of structure to get in buyers to create liquidity to then start the real up move. That is exactly what happened here. We started trading above high, getting in a lot of buyers, stop losses below this low, and then we're gonna take them out and start the real up. And why do I point this out? In this move, we can see we made a pullback, giving us a demand which is still untested to look for potential continuation longs on Pepe. As I said, leaving behind a lot of liquidity, so it can be interesting for the market to put in a higher low in there to continue this bigger swing we have. So right now, we have a couple of scenarios. Let's put them in the chart. And of course, if we're gonna never manage to hold here and trade higher from here, there's still a lot of liquidity lows collected on Pepe to trade lower, and we'll just have to see what's gonna happen from there. But right now, these are the local price zones to look at. And from there, we can take a look at this breaker block. Also want to point out this local supply. Why? Well, this is the last pullback we put in before the massive expansion towards the downside. So of course, that is also gonna be in the chart. So that are the price levels, demand and supply zones, and possible trade scenarios on Pepe. If you found this video helpful and enjoyed it, make sure to leave behind a like and subscribe to the channel to be updated on future videos. And then I will see you in the next one. Ciao!